If you're 55 or older and still working, this video is my honest advice for you. If you're like I was, you probably keep hearing this little voice that says, just one more year. And honestly, it used to drive me crazy. Because that voice, it's literally stealing the best years of your life. And here's the thing that really gets me. Almost half the people that retired say that they wish they'd done it at least 4 years earlier. 4 years. That's a lot of life. Look, if you're over 55 and still grinding it out every day, I'm not going to stand here and lecture you about saving more money. We both know that you've heard that a million times. What I do want to talk to you about today is this hidden cost that virtually nobody else talks about. See, every day that you stay in your cubicle or slaving away for somebody else, you're paying a tax. Not a money tax, but a life tax. On your health, on your time with family and grandkids, on the freedom that you've already earned. And honestly, it makes me mad. Here's something that really bugs me about this whole thing. Company loyalty, it's completely one-sided now. You think that paycheck is keeping you safe? Man, it's actually costing you the prime years that you're never going to get back. And I've seen this happen over and over again. So, I'm Jason, by the way. My wife and I, thank God we figured this out early. We hit what they call lean fire at 39. So basically that means that we live lean because we invested hard and walked away with about $1 million. And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty scary at first. But now we spend half the year here in the US and half the year just, exploring. No alarm clocks going off at 6 a.m., no sitting in meetings about meetings, just life the way we want it. 9 years ago, when I left corporate America, dude, my friends thought that I was having some kind of midlife crisis. Jason's lost his mind, they said. And you know what's funny? Those same friends, they're still sitting in conference rooms right now, counting down the days until they're 67. And for some of them, their knees are making more noise than their office chairs. I've literally sat at kitchen tables with people in their 60s who kept saying, just one more year. And then what happened? They got hit with these mandatory retirement distributions that completely messed up their Social Security. For example, I watched a friend of mine. He worked for 30 years at the same company and got laid off at 63. No severance, just a coffee mug that basically said, thanks. I mean, that's brutal, right? And here's the thing that everyone's missing, including your financial advisor. We keep treating retirement like it's just a math problem, but it's not. There's actual science behind this. See, Johns Hopkins did a study that showed that if you're dealing with chronic work stress after 60, your heart attack risk goes up by 23%. Yeah, 23%. And get this, over half of people who retire late say that they'd give up a whole year's salary just to get their healthiest years back. Think about that for a second. Your desk isn't a time machine, you know? You can't just sit there and expect to go backwards. So let me share something personal with you. You want to know why I can't sleep sometimes? Well, it's not the money stuff. I've got that figured out. It's thinking about people that I care about who thought that working longer was the safe choice. And then boom, some kind of health scare. Or boom, a layoff. Or that gut punch moment when they realize that they traded their best years for a little bit more security. My whole thing now is just trying to help people, including those of you who watch these videos, avoid these same regrets. Because when you look at the data, and I hate being the guy who to quote statistics, but I think this one matters a lot. Almost half of retirees, especially the ones who work past 60, they all say the same thing. They wish they'd left at least 4 years earlier. That's real people telling you what they learned the hard way. I'm curious, if you're over 55 and still working, why? Is it simply that you haven't saved enough yet? Let me know down in the comments. Look, my friends, I don't want you to be sitting somewhere in 5 years wondering what you missed while you were chasing one more paycheck. So let's figure out how you can retire on your terms before your health makes the decision for you. Or worse, before your company does. And if you want to hear about more stuff like this, real strategies, not the same boring retirement advice that you've heard everywhere else, and you're over 40, definitely subscribe. See, this whole channel is about financial independence and retiring early for real people like you and me. Not the Instagram version or the quit your job and live under a bridge version. All right, so let's get real about these retirement myths that everyone's clinging to. See, that safe paycheck after 60, that's a total illusion. It's like a mirage in the desert that looks real, but when you get to it, it just vanishes. It was never real in the first place. Take Frank. He's a buddy of my dad's. He's an engineer, really sharp guy actually. He worked 2 extra years for peace of mind. And guess what happened? That safety net turned into a tax nightmare. His Social Security got a tiny bump, sure, but the IRS took half of his gains. And why? Because every dollar he earned after 60 got slapped with extra taxes before it even hit his bank account. And get this, once he hit 73, the government forced him to start yanking money out of his 401k, whether he needed it or not. And those withdrawals, they pushed him into a higher tax bracket. It was just a total disaster. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to show you exactly how we can break free from the rat race and your cubicle prison earlier than you ever thought was possible. Look guys, here's the truth. Working longer doesn't make you any richer. It makes you a bullseye for the IRS. I was just reading about how retirees who delay until 70 end up paying 42% more in lifetime taxes than folks who bail at 62. It's like the system's rigged to punish you for grinding just a little bit longer. And loyalty? Don't even get me started. That company that you bled for, over half of workers past 60 get axed before they retire. My old co-worker of 30 years at the same company, they got a coffee mug and a pink slip at 63. No severance, no goodbye party, just poof, gone. Another mistake people make is missing the Roth conversion window. See, if you retire at 55, you've got about 15 years to shuffle money into Roth accounts at lower rates. If you wait until you're 67, well, now you're cramming that into 3 to 5 years, and Uncle Sam's going to take a massive bite out of that. My friend Rick, he learned this the hard way. $22,000 in taxes he could have avoided. It cost his kids potentially $150,000 in lost growth. And here's the brutal math. Working till 70 for maximum Social Security only pays off if you live past 82. But stress from working those extra years steals 3 healthy years on average. You're trading time, actual life, for pocket change. Meanwhile, your retirement accounts grow at 79%, which sounds great until the IRS detonates that tax time bomb. Look, the system wants you scared, but freedom's cheaper than you think. So let's talk about the clock that you can't reset, your bodies. At some point, it's not about money. It's about how much life you've got left to live. Your 50s and 60s, they're not a waiting room. They're your last shot for the stuff that your 65 and 70-year-old knees won't be able to handle. A 2025 study of 2,200 retirees found that folks who quit earlier had a 42% lower death risk. Not because they were richer, but because they swapped spreadsheets and endless meetings for grandkids and hiking trails. It turns out that stress isn't just a mood killer. Johns Hopkins proved that chronic work stress after 60, it jacks up your heart attack risk by 23%. But your financial advisor isn't checking your blood pressure, and your doctor isn't asking about your 401k. So here's some more harsh truth that they don't teach. After 50, you lose 1 to 2% of muscle yearly. And after 60, strength nosedives 3% a year. By 70, most tour companies won't let you near Machu Picchu, and your own knees ban you from doing even simple things like gardening. Recently, I met a couple who delayed retirement for 1 more year. And by 68, well, a couple knee replacements, vertigo, and their safety net, it bought them a first-class ticket to the couch. And their bucket list, yeah, just collecting dust. See, that 1 more year mindset, it's like saving a fine wine until it turns to vinegar. The system wants you to think that health and wealth are separate. But your heart doesn't care if your portfolio's safe. It cares if you're raging at traffic at 7 a.m. And get this, your grandkids won't remember your job title, just whether you showed up or not to their birthday parties or Little League games or not. The real crisis isn't just your portfolio or your blood pressure. It's the silent war in your mind. Because even if the numbers say go, your brain has a PhD in inventing reasons to stay. All right, let's break down these 3 mental traps that keep people stuck at jobs way past their expiration date. Then I'll show you how to break free from these traps, so make sure you stick around. So trap number 1 is the just one more year cycle. It starts simple. Oh, I'll leave work after this project wraps up. Then it's maybe I'll stay through the merger. And next thing you know, you're 68 and you realize that you spent a fifth of your retirement years in meetings about, meetings. And why? Well, a 2024 study found that 63% of people over 60 admit that they're staying for security, even when their own spreadsheets scream that they're ready to go. See, at that point, it's not math, it's simply loss aversion. We're wired to fear losing a paycheck more than we value gaining freedom. It's like refusing to sell a sinking stock simply because, what if it rebounds? Now, trap number 2 is the identity crisis. And let me tell you about this retired CFO that I met. 11 days after retiring, he was panic applying to consulting gigs. And you know why? He told me, I didn't know how to introduce myself at parties without my job title. And he's not alone. 37% of late retirees tie their entire self-worth to work. The reality is that the average one more year addict dies with 60% of their savings untouched. That's like saving up for a Ferrari and leaving it in the garage forever. You're not building security. You're creating a museum of unused chances. Trap number 3 is the loyalty mirage. Meet Janet. She gave 28 years to a Fortune 500 company. Delayed retirement to see through the rebrand, she said. Then COVID hit. They thanked her with a layoff at 63 and a severance check that didn't cover her dog's chemotherapy. What you need to realize is that 56% of workers over 60 get axed before their chosen exit date. Companies don't reward loyalty, they monetize it. That secure paycheck is a golden chain keeping you from living while your knees still work. See, we've been sold this lie that busyness equals worth. But let's get real. The average retirement planning chat spends 4 minutes on what will you do with your life versus 47 minutes on portfolio percentages? That's not planning, that's existential malpractice. Look folks, you need an escape plan. Take Steve, a former middle manager who cracked the code. At 51, he started introducing himself as Steve, amateur sculptor and terrible golfer, before retiring. By exit day, he sold 3 pottery pieces. His motto, retirement isn't an ending, it's a promotion to CEO of you. So here's your homework after this video. Calculate your regret risk. Every year worked past readiness adds 11% odds that you'll die with unused savings. Write your retirement obituary today. And if it says loyal employee more than world traveler or grandkid wrangler, it's time to rethink and reboot. If you're close enough with your boss, have one brutally honest talk with them about layoff risk. And spoiler alert, your indispensable role, that likely has 3 backups. So trust me, the clock's ticking. But unlike your 401k, time doesn't compound. Your body's not waiting. Muscle mass drops 3% yearly after 60. Your grandkids aren't waiting. They're growing up while you're in budget meetings. So what's it going to be? More Zoom calls or sunrise hikes while your knees still work? All right, so how do you plan your escape? Let me tell you, retirement planning isn't about hitting some magic number. It's about reclaiming your time while you still have your health. Here's the 4-step playbook that I wish every 40 to 50-something knew. Step number 1, ditch the $2 million myth. Forget what those generic calculators say. Forget what Susie Orman says about needing $10 million to retire. She's crazy. She lives in a different universe than you and I do. Here's the real math. Take your monthly essentials. We're talking groceries, utilities, meds. Multiply by 12, then divide by 3.5%, not 4%. Why? Because healthcare costs after 60, and they're rising 2.5 times faster than inflation. So let's say you need $4,000 a month. Generic advice tells you to save $2 million. But the reality, you're looking at $1.37 million or so. That's a $630,000 difference. That's a whole lot less time of needing to work. Step 2, map your health timeline. In your 50s, you still have energy and mobility to do most of the things you want to do. Your 60s are the last call for 5-hour hikes to Machu Picchu and grandkid piggyback rides. So sit down with your doctor and ask, what's my 5-year mobility forecast? Then look at your bucket list items and set hard deadlines. You may have less time to do them than you thought. I remember this guy from a Reddit group. He dreamed of fly fishing in Alaska. His doctor told him that his hips will probably give out by 68. So he retired at 63, caught salmon till his arms ached, and never looked back. Step 3 is to spend smart, not less. The old Playbook said, accumulate until death. Well, there's a new rule, and that's spend strategically early. And why? 89% of retirees say that happiness peaks in the first 8 years of freedom. Next up, use Roth conversions before RMDs hit. Harvest capital gains in low-income years, and front-load adventures while your body still cooperates. Book that African safari now, not when you're stuck with using a cane. Step 4, realize that memories are greater than millions. My wake-up call? At 39, I had around $1 million saved. Chasing $1.5 million would have cost me 5 prime years at least. So, I quit. And 9 years later, that missing $500,000 bought sunsets in Thailand, swimming with manta rays, and seeing Komodo dragons in Indonesia, just to name a few. And 0 regrets. See, your 80-year-old self, they're not going to high-five you for a fat 401k, but they will high-five you for living while you could. So here's the bottom line. Nearly half of retirees wish that they'd left sooner. Don't be one of them. Crunch your real numbers, know and trust your body's timeline, and go live those prime years now. If you feel like you won't have enough to retire, or if the idea of retirement just seems impossible to you, be sure to check out the guide that I wrote titled Late to the Game, Not Out of Time. It's your proof that it's not too late, and that your best financial years might still be ahead. I'll leave a link down in the comments along with a special discount code. If you found this video helpful in any way and you want to help this channel grow, please do subscribe. I talk about this sort of stuff all the time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.